Alright, man, peace. So most brothers who've been on my channel for a while, they know my stance on Russell Westbrook. Phenomenal talent, great heart. He has a lot of the intangibles, but some of the intangibles that are the most integral to being a champion are what he's missing. That being composure, decorum, moderation, patience, etc. He's missing those core intangibles. It's almost like that great scene in the film Gladiator, where the son Commodus is talking to his father Marcus Aurelius. And Marcus Aurelius tells him that he's not going to allow him, his son Commodus, to become the next emperor of Rome. And Commodus gets frustrated and he says, I remember when you gave me a list of all of the great attributes of a king, and I realized that I had none. But I have certain attributes that I think would make for a good king. But everybody knew that Commodus was not fit to be a king. It's the same thing with Russell Westbrook. There are just certain intrinsic attributes or characteristics that a championship level player in the NBA has that he just does not have. And finally, it appears as if many of these TV dudes are starting to catch up with what I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 years on this channel. So of course, they're going to talk about it and I'm going to chime in.
All right, Russell Westbrook had another disappointing postseason as the Thunder were again eliminated in the first round. Now,
I don't think that it was a disappointment. A disappointment is if you expected him to win and he didn't win. I didn't expect him to win, so it was not a disappointment for me. I don't think that he's as good a player overall as Damian Lillard, and therefore his team is not going to defeat Damian Lillard's team.
Westbrook has yet to advance to the second round of the playoffs since the departure of Kevin Durant. Yesterday, he had a lot to say to his critics where he took on some of the things people have been saying, including people at this table, about Russell Westbrook in the wake of yet another early playoff departure.
Let me say this. Russell Westbrook better wake the hell up. Right now, he's so accustomed to being protected by the OKC Thunder front office that some of these accurate quote-unquote criticisms, which are really just assessments that are finally starting to permeate through that bubble, are reaching him, and he's in a bit of shock right now because he's so accustomed to turning on the TV and hearing people just say all these great things about him. So therefore, when you have a couple of guys who've been accurate in their assessments of Westbrook, that being Colin Cowherd, he could just cast him or relegate him as a quote-unquote hater. But now everyone is starting to see what I've been seeing for a while, what Colin Cowherd has been seeing for a while, and it's going to act as a shock treatment for Russell Westbrook. So hopefully he responds well by growing his game and growing as a person in the offseason. But I do think that a lot of what he does is a byproduct of being spoiled by the Oklahoma City front office. And it's never a good thing to spoil someone, ever. It always ends up bad.
Listen to Russ. Respond.
You do so much at a high level, a lot of haters come. That's how life is, man.
I agree with that, but I don't think people are hating on you, bro.
It's life. That's life, man. When you do so much, people gonna try to pull and take away and try to take that away from you. But nobody can take away from you. I've been blessed. And,
I agree. You have been blessed. So hopefully you're able to accentuate or optimize that blessing in the right way and grow as a player in the off season. Because your decision making is horrific. Your shooting is horrific. Those are things that you have to work on. If you become a good shooter, automatically you become arguably the best player in the NBA. Right now you're outside of the top 10, which is something that would have been considered inconceivable a couple of years ago.
I stay prayerful, stay thankful to be able to do what I'm able to do. And nobody can ever take that away from me, regardless of what it is.
Well, there's one person who could take that away from you, and that's you. If you continue down that path of obstinance and pride, you will take away everything that you've created for yourself.
How many stories are written, how many stats are put up, how many numbers are put up, doesn't matter. I take too much pride, time.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Time, effort to be able to go out and compete and play hard every night.
I agree, you play hard every night, but you play smart very few nights.
My body on the line, can't take it away from me. I wouldn't.
That's cool. You can brag about putting your body on the line if you join the U.S. military. But in the NBA, they need you to lead with your brain.
I would never let anybody take it away. So how many years you ask me every year I take the same answers because I truly believe it. And it doesn't change the fact of anything.
There's a very thin line between loyalty and obstinance. We have to have self-awareness to be able to differentiate between the two. Sometimes we can be a little bit too loyal to who we already are as people, and that shows a lack of a want to grow. It's time for Russell Westbrook to grow up.
Now, Max, what are your biggest problems with what Westbrook had to say? I'm not a hater of Westbrook. He's my favorite player. But I see what I see. You know, I see sometimes one play, oh my God, it's the best player I've ever seen. Next play, you can't win a championship with Westbrook. I've said that many times about him.
So in other words, you're the biggest problem, Max Kellerman. Fanboys like you, who would actually consider Westbrook to be the greatest player in the history of the NBA. Just for you to say that you vacillate between those two extremes, that's part of the problem. How can Westbrook be moderate if his fans are not moderate?
But still, he's my favorite player because he goes all out all the time, and I appreciate that naked aggression and dedication to try his best to win.
So you appreciate his naked aggression. Is that a turn on for you?
Sometimes he tries too hard, I think. Here's my problem with what he just said. One, he admits he's responding to critics. Why are you responding to critics?
Because they're telling the truth, that's why. And it's finally starting to pierce through that bubble. They have protected him for so long, and so many of you guys on TV have shied away from criticizing him because you guys wanted to cast him as the quote-unquote victim after Kevin Durant made the appropriate decision and got the hell out of Dodge. And now what's starting to become also apparent is that Kevin Durant was right.
He's a principled guy. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, he admits that he hears the criticism and he works on his game. And then he claims that he's being nitpicked, basically. Well, hold on, Russ. Which one?
When he says he's being nitpicked, he's talking about when people go through his triple doubles and they say he's getting cheap rebounds. And a lot of people are starting to figure that out. Even many of his supporters amongst former NBA players. Westbrook was that guy. And you get a lot of fanboys like this who talk about their favorite player. They'll say, well, you know, Russell Westbrook is the guy that, you know, NBA players say that they love to watch the most. All that don't mean anything. A lot of these NBA dudes are number fanboys. That don't mean shit. Why do you think that most great NBA players, or even most average NBA players, don't make good coaches? It's normally the bench warmers who go on to become good coaches or general managers because they have a chance to sit at the end of the bench and watch the game from the best seats in the house. And they can't say anything while they're playing because they're just a bench warmer. If they talk about the star, they're going to get cut. But they're able to take a lot of what they learned just from observing the game from the end of the bench into the locker room as a coach or into the front office as a GM. Right now, Westbrook, he's at a major turning point in his career. If he does not learn how to grow as an NBA player and embrace the modern NBA, which is making good decisions, moving the ball, and making your jump shots, he's going to fade away.
One is it? If you hear the criticism and you respond, then you must think there's truth to it. Because you're an internally motivated dude. You can't be playing to shut critics up. Who cares about us? You can't be as great as Russell Westbrook just to shut me or Stephen A. Like, what? No, you're
Actually, it's the opposite. Most great players live to shut up their critics. That's what galvanizes them. That's what motivates them. If he were not aware of what was being said about him by his critics, then that would mean that he was living in his own world. You can't do that in a team sport.
You're an internally motivated guy. So if you're working on something, it's because you believe there's truth to it. You were called a ball hog. You didn't like it. Maybe you looked at yourself and said, yeah, I got to hook my teammates up more or whatever. Trust my teammates more. So then you point to the assist totals to prove that you did. Then you said, that, you know, I didn't. Now I'm being told I didn't shoot it well enough. I'm going to work on my shooting all summer. Good. We're not making it up to nitpick you. You didn't shoot it well enough. You shot a very low percentage from three. If Russell Westbrook shot...
Russell Westbrook shoots a very low percentage from everywhere on the damn basketball court, other than dunks.
Shot 35% from three, they'd advance. So what is he really saying? Look, we hold Westbrook to a very high standard because we see the talent. He has not won a single playoff series since KD left, and he's never won a championship. Is he saying, yo, to my critics, I play well enough, it's my teammates that aren't good enough? That's not true. Westbrook's had a lot of good teammates. Is he saying it's my coaching that's not good enough? Billy Donovan got there, that became the best defensive team in basketball. I don't think he's throwing his teammates or Billy Donovan under the bus.
What he's really saying is what I've been telling you brothers for a while now. He does not really care if he wins or not. And a lot of cats out there might say, what the hell are you talking about, man? Russell Westbrook wants to win. No, bruh. There's a difference between wanting to win and wanting to win your way. Russell Westbrook is good with wanting to win his way, where he can go out on the dance floor known as the NBA floor, the NBA parquet, whatever you want to call it, the hardwood, go out there and put up 23, 10 and 10 every season, and he can be lavish with praise because he's doing things that have not been done since Oscar Robertson, so on and so forth. But in the subconscious of his mind, he knows that he's not a championship player. He knows that already. He knows that he's never going to be KD. He's never going to be LeBron. He's never going to be Kawhi. He's never going to be Steph Curry. He's never going to be those guys. But in his conscious mind, he can fool himself into trying to amp himself up into this competitive fervor where he can say, I'm giving my best. I'm giving my all. I'm giving 100%. I'm diving on the floor, blah, blah, blah. But you're not playing smart, because playing smart would entail cutting back on your stats. And he doesn't want to do that because he knows his legacy are those damn triple doubles.
So what is he really saying? What we're saying, Russ, is we think so highly of you. We think you should be able to lead a team deep into the playoffs as the best player on the team.
Well, that's just you. When you say we, you must be speaking French.
You've been unable to do it. So then we start looking for reasons why. And I'm not one to say you're a bad leader or something like that. I'm looking at your shooting and going, he ain't shooting it well enough, period. So when he then says, Stephen A., I'm going to go work on my shooting, he has to be acknowledging that it's true that his shooting isn't good enough. So,
of course, Stevie Wonder could see that. The man shooting 35% from 2. Russell Westbrook shooting 35. You look at Russell Westbrook numbers, you're like, okay, that's not bad from 3. Now, wait a minute, that's from 2.
So what's he upset about?
I'll tell you what he's upset about. He's upset about the fact that he doesn't get to control what we think and how we feel.
Well, he's upset about the fact, well, that's part of it, that he does not get to control how you think about him, but he's really upset that people are starting to change their mind about him.
Russell Westbrook wants us to shut the hell up and appreciate the greatness of his talent. What he doesn't want to do, and he doesn't realize this, but what he doesn't want us to do is measure him against the other great talents in the NBA.
I agree with that.
And that's what most of these players are missing. Let me be very, very clear. Russell Westbrook is not only just a phenomenally great talent, he's a good man. And what I mean by that is never get in any trouble off the court, bust his tail, never cheats up.
Most of these NBA players don't get into any trouble off the court. When you're talking about the players who get in trouble in the NBA, it's literally about 0.5%, if that high.
Just with effort, gives effort 100% of the time. I've communicated with his parents on several occasions throughout the years. Tremendously great people that love their son dearly, dearly. His wife, his kids, all of that stuff. And Paul George said it best. He's as real as it gets. There's not a phony bone in Russell Westbrook's body. He is 100% authentic about who he is and how he feels. So in that regard, he does not deserve to be excoriated. There doesn't need to be a character issue, question about Russell Westbrook, because that is unfair. But what he's missing is that it's perfectly within line to say, look, bro, you ain't winning, but Steph Curry is. You ain't winning, but Kyrie's got a championship. You're not winning, but Chris Paul, even though he's devoid of a championship, no one's ever questioned his floor generalship and his leadership. We do have a right.
Don't forget, you ain't winning, but Damian Lillard kicking your ass.
Right to do that. We're looking at you averaging triple doubles. We're hearing about you being fixated on getting your numbers. Well, you shot 29% from three-point range this year. You shot 65% from the free throw line. Now, it was 32% from threes in the postseason in the first round against Portland. It was 88% against the free throw line. But what was the problem there? You went up against Damian Lillard, and he gave it to you. And how do we know that he gave it to you? It wasn't just by hitting the game-winning shot. It wasn't just by averaging 33. But in the aftermath of winning that series, Damian Lillard, quote, let me give you what we call a raw dog comment. Just real and authentic. Damian
Pause.
Lillard said, I'm paraphrasing it, we got different ways of going about doing things. I never disrespect my competition, my opponent. I go out there, I ball, I go home. This cat pounds his chest. He talks a lot of bleep. You understand? And that's how he gets off. That's Damian Lillard calling you out for how you came at him. So in the end,
well, Russ has been overly disrespectful towards Dame for a couple of years now, but he started to ratchet it up this year. And I believe that that's more of a reflection in Russ's mind of viewing Damian as a threat now. He never quite viewed him as a threat 5 years ago, but he views him as a threat, or at least he has over the last 2 years. He knows, look, Russ knows who his peers are. He knows that he's not peers with Steph Curry. He knows that already. Right now, the issue is him and Dame, because he sees Dame passing his ass up.
the end, why are you going at the media? It's possible because it's a lot easier to get at the media than it is to get at Dame time.
That's a great
And that's
point.
what happened.
That's a great, hold on, Stephen A. That's a great point. When you are great, you are still compared to your contemporaries, to the competition. It's not just like if Westbrook wants us to just talk about his greatness in a vacuum, that's not how it exists. It's tested against the competition. And there's a hierarchy, and we're here to talk about that. There's a hierarchy which teams advance. And then we start to look at the players and why some teams advanced and why some didn't. Is Westbrook saying that Portland has, that Damian Lillard has better teammates than he does, that he has a better coach than he does?
He's not saying any of that. All Westbrook is saying is that he's not going to change. He's not going to change. He's going to leave this season, try to improve his outside jump shooting. He's going to play the exact same. He's going to continue to chase triple doubles. He's going to try to break Oscar Robertson's triple double record because he knows that more likely than not, he's never going to win a championship. So his legacy is going to be triple doubles. That's all he's saying. He's not going into the teammates and none of that other shit. He does not care. What does he need teammates for? He plays by himself, basically. Westbrook said it himself. His only friend out there on the court is the ball. That's what he said.
He's not going that deep.
Right. So in that case, we start looking at Westbrook and saying, no,
he's basically
it's that
saying,
Lillard is better than you.
No, he's basically saying, who are we to question him? And our response should be, we cover the sport.
The reason why he's saying who are you to question him is because you've never questioned him before. Everything that the media has done over the last 4 years has been to enable Russell Westbrook. The enabling of Russell Westbrook led to the departure of Kevin Durant. And the further enabling of Westbrook after the departure of Kevin Durant has led to this moment right here where he's finally getting his comeuppance. That being just an accurate appraisal of his style of play. That's all it is. Nobody's picking on Westbrook. He's a great talent. But there are very talented people in all walks of life who are never able to optimize whatever it is that their talent is because they're held back by a certain flaw. Russell Westbrook's flaw is his lack of self-awareness.
Our coverage of the sport is what enabled you to get $205 million. So guess what? We're sitting here and we're chronicling what you do. Nothing personal.
It seems
That's
to me
what we have to do.
It seems to me fairly simple, and you both laid it out. Are the critics right or wrong? End of story. Let's move back.
And the critics are correct. And they should have been correct a very long time ago. Russell Westbrook, hopefully you spend some time in the off season not only trying to improve your game, but improve your outlook, because it is going to have a reverberation for the remainder of your career. So peace.